What's going on, Sales Nation? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm still getting this question in my comments, in my email, Instagram. So I actually have some updates to how I would go about this. So I'm going to make a quick little video on it, and it's how to get into medical sales. All right, guys, this is going to cover both whether you have experience or no experience, and what I believe are some of the top things that maybe you're not doing that will hopefully get you to that next level so that you can progress throughout that interview process and get the role that you're looking for. So let's jump in. So the first thing on the list is going to be research. Do your research. If you already have a job, this is going to be your second job. If you're just in school and college, or you don't have a job, then this is going to be your job. Do the research. Figure out 4 or 5 companies that you want to apply to that might already have open positions. Apply for those positions and then start doing your research on the role as well as the company. You need to make sure that you understand the types of products that they're selling, what their future looks like, and you can get a lot of this information from their website. This sounds very rudimentary, but you're gonna not believe the amount of people that don't really put any effort into understanding what the company does, how they got to where they are, and what their future looks like. And when you understand those things, you can create your 30, 60, 90-day plan wrapped around this idea of what the company is looking for to really show that you understand what they are looking for, and hopefully put a better foot forward than the person that you're currently interviewing against. So make sure that you're doing your research, which then jumps into the next biggest thing that you should be doing on top of researching, which is networking. When you figure out which roles that you want to apply to, make sure that you reach out to people in those roles. If you want to get into biotech and sell the newest technology that can help cancer patients, reach out to me, but you should have some experience because you're not going to get into this role without any experience. If you're trying to just become an associate rep at a orthopedic company, reach out to ortho reps, not the associates. You can reach out to associates as well, just to kind of understand the grunt work that they're going to be going through so that you can go in with a better mindset of what it is that you're going to be doing day to day. But this is the next level of trying to get into one of these roles, is really kind of building your relationship with somebody and then building a champion within those relationships. I say champion because that is the buzzword that so many companies use when it comes to building your sales, essentially like your sales territory, and who your champions within your sales territory is. A champion for me would be a certain physician, and what the champion word means is they are going to be the person that is always there whenever I give them a call, that will help push my systems through their systems. And really they're the driving force. And when I say create a champion on your side, create relationships with the people that are working either the role that you want or the role right above you. So if you're going for an associate role, try to create a relationship with the actual rep that's the full line rep for that role. And I say this because if you can build that relationship, it's going to look really good when you can answer so many questions because they gave you the answers to those questions. And then hopefully you can offer a win-win scenario for somebody that you really clicked with, whether they be in the same state as you or another state, and you can put them down as a reference if you haven't or not a reference, but a referral if you haven't already applied for that role. And I say win-win because if you get the job, they're going to get a check for referring you, even though you were the one that reached out to them. So that is by far some of the things that a lot of people do not do, and that is what gets you counted out almost immediately within your first interview. And I'm not talking about the interview with the recruiter and then the interview with the internal talent acquisition person. Those, if you can't get past those two, like there's something that you are doing that is completely wrong, or you just don't have what they are looking for. So I'm talking about that third interview, which is essentially the manager's interview, the very first one that you're going to go on, which then if you're going to a company like Stryker leads to another like 5 or 6 interviews that you're going to go through before getting an offer. So make sure that you are prepared. That is the number one best bit of advice that I can give you. The next bit of advice can go for either somebody that has sales experience or has no sales experience, and that is creating a brag book. A brag book doesn't just have to be, look, I hit quota and I hit President's Club, check it out. A lot of people fake that shit. So you don't know what you don't know. The manager that is interviewing you doesn't necessarily have 100% way of verifying whether or not you hit President's Club. So a lot of people kind of fake that. It's really, when you're in that interview process, it's the type of person that you are when you're interviewing, that they are really kind of basing the idea of whether or not you're going to be a good cultural fit. And I say cultural fit because they want to make sure that you fit in well with the team. And that's if there's a territory and you're going into that territory with other people already in it. And that also goes to going into a territory that has no other reps in it, but you're still going to be under some manager, and that manager is going to manage a certain amount of people, and those people are on your team. They might not help you boost your numbers, but they are still somebody that you're going to be reaching out to, that you're going to be communicating with. So they want to make sure that you're the right cultural fit for their team. And just because you were Mr. or Mrs. President's Club and hit all of your goals, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are now going to be looked at higher than somebody that is a better cultural fit. Now, within this brag book, you also want to throw in the different people that you reached out to. If you can build your credibility by stating certain people, what role they were in, what division they work in at the same company that you're applying to, that goes to show that you really did your research. You called these people, you had a conversation with them. I can't tell you how many times I literally got to the final interview and got a job offer just because of the amount of people that I talked to that are within that organization, because it creates a domino effect. You never know who you might end up having a conversation with, and then that person might have a conversation with somebody else about you because the conversation that you guys had was great, and then it reaches the actual hiring manager. So this is showing how you are going to do your job, because they can't see it. A resume just gives them an idea, but what you did to get your resume in front of them goes to show the type of person that you are. So keep that in mind. Make sure that whoever you talk to, you wrote their name down, when it was, what questions you asked, and what insights you got from them. Because if you can go into an interview, drop somebody's name and say, hey, these were some of the challenges that they told me that they're going to be running into, or that they did run into when they first started, and that now they gave you some insight on how to better manage that hurdle, it's really going to show like how much you're willing to do before you even have the role. So hopefully you're able to transition that amount of effort that you just put in to get this role into the actual role that you're doing. The problem is some people put so much effort into trying to get into a company that they end up plateauing right after they get in, because all of that effort, everything that they were putting into it was a grind. It tired you out, and then you got in and you just kind of fizzled out from that point. So you got to make sure to kind of keep that trajectory going up, keep trying to learn, keep trying to improve yourself, and don't let that win that you got the job offer be the last great thing that you do for this company. The next piece, again, still goes for people that have sales experience or don't have sales experience, and that is within your resume. If there is any reason that they see, let's say some kind of shortcoming, let's say you had experience and you didn't hit quota, and you even put that within your resume, or when you're talking to them and they ask you, hey, so how were your numbers here? And you don't have anything to show because it just wasn't really great for you, own your mistakes. Own that. Make sure that you're not trying to, beat around the bush and not answer that question directly. Let them know why you either failed or weren't able to succeed. And don't make it a kind of throwing somebody else under the bus and trying to push the issue away from yourself. Just own it. One of the things that I learned from one of my buddies that just got one of his dream jobs, the thing that really made him stand apart was whenever he went over his resume, there was one job that didn't look great. And when the hiring manager asked him, what is this right here? Like, why did this not work out? He answered it by essentially saying, this is the only role that I've ever failed at, and then giving the reasons why he failed at that role. And that hiring manager literally told him that the fact that he owned that information on his resume and didn't try to create an excuse for it really made him stand out, because everybody wants to show how great they do, how many times they hit quota or this or that, but they don't tell you about their shortcomings, and they don't own those shortcomings. So make yourself stand out. That is another way that you can stand out if you do have a shortcoming. Don't try to make an excuse for it. Just own it. Now, this is the update of my, 2 cents on how to get into medical sales. Previously, what I said before, if you didn't have any experience, I said, go get experience. Go to Cintas, Paychex, Xerox, somewhere, and go build your sales foundation and be good at what you did so that you can put it on your resume. But right now, I personally, if I had to start today, I don't think that they existed whenever I was trying to get into medical sales the first time around. But if I didn't have any sales experience, I would highly consider going to medical sales college. This is not a promoted video. I'm not getting anything for saying that. I just want to let you guys know that it is actually a really good foundation to understand what it is that you're going to be doing in this field. And there's two things that you're going to get out of going to something like medical sales college to get into one of these roles. The first is going to be back room, as in the OR experience. I don't believe that you're going into an actual OR, but they are going to show you how an OR is set up, where you would be standing, what the proper protocol is for you inside of that environment, so that you can actually understand what it is that you are doing for this role. It's one thing for somebody to tell you what it's like to be in the OR. It's another thing for them to kind of show you and give you some real life examples. They actually have real surgeons coming in, having a conversation with you, going through a procedure. And I don't know if they, throw a wrench into the mix just to see how you handle it, in the sense of, hey, I need this product and the product isn't there in front of you. What are you going to do? Things like that. I don't know if they go that deep into it. I hope they do. That would be really awesome. But it is going to give you at least an understanding of what it's like to actually be in that role. The next thing that it's going to do is it's going to give you a network of people that will help you get interviews. The hardest thing within medical sales is to actually get into the interview process. And just because you paid them to go to it, it doesn't mean that you're going to get a job. So don't believe that just because you paid 15, 16 grand to go do this course, that you're immediately going to get a job afterwards. You still have to do what I said before, which is your research, your networking, creating your BRAGBOOK, and they're going to help you with all of those things. But if you're not putting in the effort, they're not going to put in the effort to help you. So you have to make sure that you are already doing those things prior to going to this course. But just know that I personally, where I'm at already, I would say that I'm almost to the pinnacle of where you can get in the field that I am in. But I say that, and I would still do medical sales college if I had to do this all over again. Has my background helped me get to where I'm at now? 100% it has. But if I didn't have that background, this is definitely what I would have done. I would have invested in myself to learn about this stuff so I can have some people in my corner trying to help me get into medical sales. And hopefully you look at it as an investment in yourself that ends up paying off if you do get that role. Now, if that is just something that you are not interested in, you don't want to take medical sales college and pay, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure it's like $17,000 to go through the course, understandable. You can go and get a sales job, make money, and still get into medical sales. I'm an example of that. The only caveat to that situation is, if you watched my last video, before I got into medical sales, I was in personal training and maybe making like 30 grand a year, if even. And I was really trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get into medical sales, but I didn't know how I could get into it. I did manage to get some interviews, but it never really went anywhere because of my lack of experience. Again, if medical sales college existed back then, I guess I missed it, or they weren't advertising well enough, I would have done that instead of going to Cintas. But you know what? I went to Cintas, and if you watched my last video, I was making about 30 grand a year doing personal training, and in my first year, I made almost $100,000. I think it was like $96,000. So I tripled my income in 1 year of working. So it was fantastic. Not only am I getting the experience that I want so that I can get into medical sales, I'm making 3 times the amount of money that I was making previously. So that's the other thing that you can do. Go get your experience and be good at it. Be good like I was good. You don't have to be the best. You can still be average and make really good money while you are working your way into building the experience that you need to getting the role that you want to get into. The thing about that was I had to take a pay cut to go from Cintas to Stryker, and they didn't believe me at first when they offered me the job. I said, is there any way that we can talk about a better package, because I'm currently making more than that? They made me show them my W-2s because a lot of people don't necessarily make that much more money than what they were offering whenever I got the role. But what they told me is, hey, you're going to make more money in the long run. So if this is what you want to get into, this was a great starting position. And it was great because I got to come in as not an associate. I was a full-line rep. That's hard to do, especially if you don't have any experience prior to that. They look at you like, especially when you get in, like somebody that, didn't put in the effort, didn't, put the blood, sweat, and tears of being that associate to then earning that role. But I came in thinking, hey, I've already got sales experience. I don't need to be an associate. So I really said no to a lot of opportunities because I didn't want to come in as an associate. I felt like the 3 years that I put in at Cintas was more than enough to not make me have to go through that associate role getting into medical sales. That was an issue. So I say that's why I throw out medical sales college for people that don't have any experience, because that was an issue for me. I passed up on a lot of opportunities. And why was that? Because of the amount of money that I was making and the amount of money that I would lose if I actually pursued those opportunities. So you have to weigh those options if you are somebody that's right at finishing school and determining whether or not you want to invest in yourself or just go start making some money and eventually get into that role. Now, the last thing that I'm going to say is these 2 opportunities, whether it be medical sales college or you going out and getting some experience, the reason that you are doing these things is so that you can build yourself to sell yourself in that interview process. If you're not selling yourself, you're not going to get very far. And if you don't know how to sell yourself, you're definitely not going to get very far. And why I say that is they are looking to make cultural fits when the hiring manager is talking to you. you could potentially be going up against somebody that hit President's Club, but if you interviewed better than that P Club person because you showed that you were a better cultural fit, the amount of research that you did, this and that, they're gonna choose you over somebody that hit P Club. Just because they hit P Club and they were able to hit their quota doesn't mean that they're gonna make quota over here. The hiring manager doesn't know if this person got lucky and got some random sale that was their entire quota. That happens. So they got to make sure that when they are interviewing, that they are asking the right questions to determine whether or not you're going to be that right fit. So make sure that whether you're going to go get experience or you feel like you have enough experience with just what you've done in college, you're able to show some type of professionalism, some type of tenacity as to why you want to get into this role. Show that you have grit. The thing about that is it's hard to show grit and hunger if you haven't had a sales job, because what are you pertaining it to? If you're an athlete, easy. You can show the grit from the amount of work that you had to put into to master that craft to become an athlete at a collegiate level. If you went to the military, same thing. You have to have grit, tenacity, hunger to make it through some of those sessions to then go and start looking for a role within medical sales. So you're able to translate those things. But if you don't have any of that in, your back pocket, it's going to be tough for you to make yourself look better than someone else. So those are the things that you really gotta kind of figure out. How are you going to show your professionalism? How are you gonna show that tenacity? How are you gonna show that grit, that hunger? And also don't forget to be humble. You have to be able to show some humility. And like I said before, that's in owning your mistakes. That's in understanding that you are not the best at what you're about to start doing, that you are coachable. They want to make sure that not only are they hiring the best person that they can hire for this role, but that person is also coachable. Because if you're not, the problem with a company hiring somebody is they are essentially making $100,000 to $200,000 investment on you. They're not giving you that money, but the amount of money that they could lose because they hired you and you couldn't perform the duties of the role that they hired you for, they just wasted all of that time, the onboarding process, everything like that. So I wanted to let you guys know that you need to make sure that whatever you are doing, you are trying to always put a step forward and learn something and show that in that interview process. Hopefully that was a few little pieces for somebody that was asking for it, and maybe it helped more than one person. But thanks for the question, and hopefully you guys, if you haven't already, smash the like, hit that subscribe. I'm about to drop the 850 subscriber video, which is going to be the Stryker portion. And then you guys can see how I did at Stryker. And let's keep it going. All right, guys, until the next video, I'm out.